Thank you. We're going to do the agenda portion immediately following the public portion of the meeting. We have minutes from April 4th, 2012. We have tonight a public hearing will be introduction of our city municipal budget. Tonight, the public hearing right now is scheduled for July 18th at 5:30 p.m. We have ordinances on second reading, O-04-1201, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised ordinance of the city of New Brunswick, traffic and parking, add one residential handicapped parking zone at 63 Falls Boulevard, and add one residential handicapped parking space at 8 Bethany Street. O-04-1202, an ordinance to amend and supplement revised ordinance in the city of New Brunswick. This is for the bus stop up on Jersey Avenue. And that's it on second reading. Ordinances on first reading, O-04-1203, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinance of the city of New Brunswick, traffic and parking, add one residential parking zone at 71 South Ward Street. O-04-1204, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
Mr. Racine, I don't know how long the finance director will be with us tonight, and I always feel better when he explains this ordinance that's being introduced. I know it's only on first reading, but maybe we might want to give him an opportunity to speak to it.
Mr. Pettit?
For Council President, there's actually two tests that we need to get approved tonight for the municipal budget. The first one being the 1977 appropriation cap, and that's what this ordinance relates to. The second one is the 2010 levy cap. But in this ordinance here, which we've traditionally done, it allows us to go from the statutory rate of 2.5% to the cost of living rate that's actually been established by the state of New Jersey to 3.5%. So it brings us from allowing us to increase our appropriation side, which is our spending authority, instead of by 2.5% up to 3.5%. Anything that we don't go up to, because we're only talking about a 3% increase in appropriations, anything that we don't use gets banked. And that's not to be confused with a real cash bank. It's only a calculation bank. And in that bank, it allows us more flexibility in the future to be able to use that computation, that cap bank, in the event we need to, in future years, and I think it's a 2 or 3 year allowance to be able to use those funds in computationally to increase our appropriations. The second one is the levy cap that I alluded to before, and that has to do with the amount that our levy, which is actually our appropriations, the spending side, minus all of our revenues. So essentially, that's the plug of a budget, essentially the taxes that need to be collected. And that's limited to a 2% increase. As I mentioned before, this budget does fit into both the appropriation cap and the levy cap.
Thanks. We're now going on to the resolutions. R-04-1226, approve agenda amendments. 27, approve payroll for 3/31/2012 through 4/13/2012. 28 is being held at the request of the city clerk. 29, authorize refund for redeemed tax sale certificates. 30, approve award of contract with JEB Construction for the South Pennington Road pump station improvements and rejection of the bid by sub-level installations, not to exceed $296,375. 31, approve a raffle license for Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church. 32, approve a raffle license off premises for the Diocese of Metuchen. 33, authorize advertisement and receipt of bids for the lease of a portion of property known as 19 Van Dyke Avenue for a water tower.
Mr. Racine, this advertisement is, we take proposals for the installation of cellular antennas on top of the tower. It produces about generally $40,000 a year in revenue to us, and the current lease with Verizon is due to expire at the end of this year. We're just trying to get ahead of the game and get out the bid and see if we can find someone else who's interested in renewing, or a new party coming in and putting towers on the antennas on the water tower, excuse me.
34, approve request for street closing in Brunswick Parking Authority for Livingston Avenue between George and New Streets, the UMDNJ Gala at the Eldridge Hotel, Saturday, April 21st, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Extra duty is required. 35, approve request for street closing in Brunswick Parking Authority, Livingston Avenue between George and New Streets, St. Peter's University Hospital, Gala at the Eldridge, Saturday, April 28th, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Police duty, extra duty is required here as well. 36, approve request for city property, Bigelow Park and Pavilion for the Remy Awaguaro and Bruno Palmer Fashion Show, Sunday, July 22nd, from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. 37, approve request for street closing, request by the Puerto Rican Action Board, Sandwich Street between Jersey Avenue to the railroad tracks for Crab's 40th anniversary community celebration, Saturday, May 19th, from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. 38, authorize reimbursement to Keating Urban Partners for structural work within the police department evidence room not to exceed $15,313. 39, authorize removal and an installation of 13 mobile radios by WPCS International Incorporated for the police department not to exceed $4,730. 40, approved purchase by the police department Motorola WPCS International Incorporated for 16 mobile radios and accessories not to exceed $39,168.80. 41, approval award of contract with Varga Auto Repair and Transmission Center for transmission repair services for the police department. The term is April 21st, 2012 to April 20th, 2013, not to exceed $20,000. 42, award of contract with Roar Enterprises doing business as Water Bus Sales for 2 2012 8-passenger vans with wheelchair lift and 1 wheelchair station for dial-a ride, not to exceed $107,784. 43, approved place-to-place transfer of liquor license from a pocket license which is inactive to the somewhere else 987 Jersey Avenue. 44, approved change order number 11 with Black Rock Enterprises with George Street Beautification Phase 2. It's a credit amount of $199.83. 45, award of contract with Baker and Taylor not to exceed $49,000, with BWI $4,000, and with the Junior Library Guild $500. These are for books published by a wholesale distributor. 46, approved request for street closing. Request by UMDNJ Robert Wood Johnson Medical School for the convocation to be held at the State Theater. Partial closing with barricades leaving one lane open on Livingston Avenue between New and George Streets. Monday, May 21st for 7:45 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. 47, approve emergency temporary appropriations for 2012. 48, approve amendment of resolution R-111140. The request is to work Saturdays and Sundays, May 12, 2012 through December 25th, 2012. Relaxation of noise ordinance requested by Tecton Development, 104 Byard Street from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., May 12th. We did this already, May 12th through November 25th, 2012. 49, approved raffle license off premises for the Center for Psychotherapy and Psychoanalysis in New Jersey. 50, approved appointment of counsel, Dvorak and Associates for Anderson and others versus the City of New Brunswick, Captain Milligan and others, not to exceed $1,000.
It's really not others, just Captain Milligan.
I'm sorry?
Just Captain Milligan.
Just Captain Milligan, okay. 51, approve amendment of resolution R-041225 to pay additional legal fees for special counsel for the matter of Eon versus, what's that?
Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah, I know who it is. From $12,500 to $15,000. 52, approve release of site improvement bond issued by Western Series. Oh, man.
Surety.
Thank you. You got problems tonight. Mercado's Construction, the amount is $13,000, 15 Lawrence Street. 53 is being held at the request of the city attorney. So is 54 is being held by the city attorney, as is 55 being held by the city attorney. Anything else for resolutions? On the item for discussion, Mr. Hamilton,
Yes, is Officer Bonus here?
Yes, sir.
In addition to whatever Mr. Bonus tells us, Mr. Chairman had a meeting with some of the last, yes, had a meeting yesterday with some of the business owners in Eastern Avenue. Reports that they are somewhat more favorably inclined toward the contribution to police overtime. There's another communication scheduled for next week, at which time they hope to have the owners of licensed premises involved, not just the other business.
Mr. Lawrence?
The restaurant, that is true. The restaurant owners are trying to form an association and possibly pool their resources together to solve some of these issues. We are having a meeting next week with the tavern owners of Easton Avenue. That has not been set up. The calls for service at Easton and Conduct, which was the original issue and cause of these meetings, the last 2 weeks were 5 calls for service, 2 disorderlies, 1 motor vehicle stop, a parking violation, and a burglary call. The activity has been substantial there in the evenings, even though calls for service have not been generated. Some of the members of the council have expressed some concern because they drove down the Easton Avenue corridor, and they've expressed some concern. Our box 950, which is our mobile precinct, we plan to have the mobile precinct up definitely this Friday for RU Fest. There's going to be numerous people entering the 5th and 6th Ward. The goal is to have it also Thursday and Saturday. Also, I can't guarantee every day. The plan is it's going to go out, but it's up to the captains where they place the box, depending on the needs of the community. The time the box would be out would be approximately 1 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. start to 4 in the morning. There have been officers at the locations stationed there at Easton and Conduct from approximately 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. The box has not been out there. Our plan is to have that out there for the first time this weekend.
I just have one question. Why is it 1 a.m.? I thought we talked about 10 o'clock.
That's a good question. The resources, according to Captain Sabo, the resources we have at this point and the calls for service generated, it was determined that that was the most of the calls for service and most of the needs for that area for police protection.
We're not going on to the calls for service now. We're going on to calls for service that were prior, that were numbers, I think it was in the 500 range, right? Am I correct?
Substantially, yeah, I believe at
That were mostly
565.
Brunswick, right?
That's correct.
So that's the reason why we said we wanted the box up there at 10 o'clock, not at 1 o'clock. So
Correct.
I think that we should go by what we said. Now, and I'm happy to see that we have a reduction there, but we talked about it being from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And everything else you said was correct. And other nights it's going to be somewhere else, but we picked a couple nights that we spoke about. As a good group for them. And I would like to see that to continue.
Absolutely.
What we talked about.
I will pass that information up to the captain, to the chain of command, and I'm sure you'll be getting word back from us. Thank you.
We're going to move into the meeting now. The meeting, please come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cook is absent. Councilmember Egan.
Here.
Councilmember Escobar. Here. Councilmember Garlotti.
Present.
Council President Reesing.
Here. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act have been complied with and satisfied in the annual notice, which gives sufficient notice of the time and place of conduct of all public meetings in the municipal council of the city of New Brunswick. They filed with the city clerk and has been placed on an appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall. Has been transmitted to the official newspaper of the city of New Brunswick, namely the Home News. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence honoring all those who have given their lives in the conflicts in the Middle East. Thank you. We have minutes from April 4th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes?
Roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Reesing.
Aye. Mr. Mr. Rockwell, we have the introduction tonight of the budget. Can you please give us a summary?
Yes, we're introducing tonight a $76 million budget, and that compares to the amount adopted last year of an amount of $77.2 million. Last year's budget was eventually amended over time, but the adopted value was $200,000. This budget requires the municipal levy to increase by $379,000. We think that'll result in a 6-cent increase to the average property owner, or to every property owner, excuse me. We think the impact to the average property owner will be $74.54, and we value the average home at $118,000. Our rateable base decreased by $18 million this year. As Mr. Pettix touched on, the budget complies with both the tax levy and the spending cap regulations. This budget will accommodate 7 new hires in the police department, bringing the force up to 146 people, which happens to be the high water mark that we had, if you will, in that department back in 2006. And the 7 hires that we are contemplating are being funded almost entirely by the federal COPS grant program. The same is true in the fire department. We have 7 new hires contemplated there. Those hires are being funded in part by the federal SAFER grant program. I'm advised by the clerk's office that copies of this budget will be available for the public's consumption tomorrow morning out of the clerk's office. We are also introducing a $2.7 million capital improvement budget. And some of the significant items there are we're making some improvements to Joyce Kilmer Park. We are looking at making some improvements to Memorial Stadium. There are a number of vehicles being purchased, garbage trucks, things of that nature. We intend to mill and pave various city streets. We're going to make some traffic signal improvements in a couple of locations. And I have appropriated some additional money to try and get the renovation of this room off the ground as well. I'm available should you have any questions, of course, and as I said, this budget, which we refer to as the Trenton budget, will be available for public consumption tomorrow.
Mr. Hammond, is there anything we need to do further today?
Well, you'll have the usual introduction.
Yeah.
That's the usual thing.
Do I need to do a motion on this?
Yes.
All right, that motion.
Make a motion to reach the budget?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Racine.
And just remember, the public hearing is Wednesday, July 18th at 5:30 p.m. We have ordinances on second reading, O-041201, an ordinance to amend and supplement revised general ordinance of the city of New Brunswick, traffic and parking, add 1 residential handicap parking zone at 863 Falls Boulevard, and add 1 residential handicap parking space at 8 Bethany Street. Anybody wish to comment on this ordinance? Seeing none,
So moved. Second.
roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Racine.
Aye. O-041202, an ordinance to amend and supplement revised general ordinance of the city of New Brunswick. It's for the bus stop on Jersey Avenue. Anybody wish to comment on this ordinance? Seeing none,
Move the ordinance?
Second.
roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Racine.
Aye. Ordinances on first reading, O-041203, an ordinance to amend and supplement revised general ordinances of the city of New Brunswick, traffic and parking, add 1 residential parking zone at 71 South Ward Street.
I make a motion setting down May 2nd for public hearing, same date to be advertised. Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Racine.
Aye. ODS 041204, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
I make a motion setting down May 2nd for public hearing, same date to be advertised.
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Racine.
Aye. We have resolutions R-041226 through R-041255. We're holding number 28, 53, 54, and 55. Does anybody wish to comment on any of these resolutions? Mr. Cradaville?
Charles Cradwell, Patterson Street. I wanted to ask about 238, is apparently the construction at Civic Square 2 was not sufficient for the police department. Can I get some more details?
I just thought it wasn't sufficient when it was done. I think a decision, cost-saving reason was made not to put a certain barrier in relative to the evidence room. It's been determined since then that doesn't provide sufficient security for the evidence room. So this work was authorized, and we are now, it's our obligation under the lease to pay for it, so we are now going to reimburse the Keating Enterprises for that work.
So the work's already been done.
It's 99% finished, I would guarantee you it's all finished.
Okay. And I guess I have to ask, is there any evidence that went missing or a problem that caused this to?
There is, they haven't told you that.
Okay. Another one, 250. The lawsuit, so Captain Milligan's getting representation just for one part of the lawsuit.
You really damages.
Okay, so what exactly does that mean, and what's the plan for the rest of the lawsuit?
I can't tell you what Ms. Dwork is planning, except that she's a very vigorous and able counsel. And this protects Captain Milligan to the extent that there is a claim asserted for punitive damages above and beyond any compensatory damages that the claimant may have suffered.
Okay, and so will there be other attorneys representing the other folks who've been?
It's my understanding at this point that the Wilbur Law Firm is representing everyone else on all claims.
Anyone else on any of the resolutions? See none?
Move the resolutions?
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Racine.
Aye. Any correspondence?
We do have correspondence. Item number 1 is a correspondence from the DOT regarding the fiscal year 2012 municipal aid program. Item number 2 is a correspondence from the NJDEP to Transcontinental Gas Pipeline Company, LLC, regarding the Upland Waterfront Development Exception Request for Block 703, Lot 20.01. Item number 3 is a letter from PSCNG regarding supplemental groundwater remedial investigation report. Item number 4 is an invoice from Design Ideas Group for Remsen Avenue Firehouse conversion. And item number 5 is a copy of the 2012 final equalization table for the County of Middlesex. Each correspondence was forwarded to the appropriate departments.
Thank you. Does any council member wish to address Ms. Garlotti?
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone that this is Earth Week, and there are several events for all ages and stages going on throughout our communities to improve or refurbish or clean up. And I participated in one on Saturday in the Feaster Park neighborhood, and we literally got tons of trash. It was a well-attended event by community members, and I would encourage you to participate in whichever large or small way that you can. Thank you.
Anybody from the public wish to address the council? Okay, let me get it. Go ahead. Name and address, please.
Glenn, 6th Ward.
I don't know how far I should go, and Mr. President, I make myself available for any questions that might come up during this time. But I'm not sure how many people are aware that the Rutgers Code of Student Conduct Office, if I may I turn this?
Yes.
Thank you. Is revising the Student Conduct Code, and it hasn't been revised since 1994, so getting close to 20 years. I wasn't sure this outcome was going to be realized, but and prior to this, the meetings were closed to university-specific groups, committees, individuals, but they've opened it up to the public. And there was a meeting that was held on Bush campus that, fortunately or unfortunately at least, we had only four attendees. The fifth one was from the TARPA. And it's an opportunity for the community to participate in this process and give feedback to the university regarding issues that we don't really have a voice on. As far as I'm aware, and I've checked every place at Rutgers, there is no opportunity that I'm aware of for the public to actively participate in discussions with the university regarding issues that we may experience as a community. The Board of Governors does have an open hearing process, but no one from the public can comment. So I think this is an important opportunity for those of us who are concerned and perhaps experience some of the issues, the quality of life issues in the city that I think we can address constructively through this process, hopefully, with the university. I think the bulk pickup resolution is a beautiful example of this. The city had an issue, we brought it to the university, they stepped up in a fair and just way, and it came out with I think we came out with a great solution to that.
When are the next meetings scheduled?
There's one tonight on Cook that I'm going to be leaving to attend. That's, I think, why I got called on so soon. And I don't know if anyone's going to attend. I can tell you it's the Cook Student Center. It's in the Merle Adams room. Not sure who that is, but I'll find out. But the most important one probably is tomorrow. There's one at 6 p.m. at the College Ave Student Center, and it's room 402. And I don't think she would mind if I said Dr. Ann Newman is the director of the Code of Conduct Office, and she will head up the meeting and probably have an intern there helping her as secretary. And Dr. Newman has been very fair in this. I'm not aware of any other opportunity prior to this that we've had. So I would urge everyone that's interested in this to attend. I think we can come up with a constructive way of approaching these issues, and I hope that's the tone that the meetings take, anyone who attends. So that's it. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, I'll be glad. Otherwise, I'm going to bowl.
Anyone else? Mr. Crowder wants to say anything?
No?
No,
I'm dismissed?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, Mr. Council President, members of the council. Wanted to talk about a few things. First of all, I did attend the mayor's Student Connections event. I didn't see any of the council members there, but I was only there for a very short time, so I encourage you to come out to the next one. And at that event, I spoke to the mayor about an idea I had, that perhaps he could attend these meetings. And I wanted to ask, would any members of the council be at all opposed to that? Or would that in any way cramp your style?
It's under our form of government, it's not what the mayor does. So as long as we're in this form of government, yeah, I would be opposed to it.
Oh, you're opposed to the mayor attending these meetings?
It's not his role to be at these meetings. This is a legislative body, and this is what we do as a legislative body at these meetings. We take care of that action.
Well, I disagree. I think there's no harm that could come of it. I think if anything, it would help to have the mayor available to speak his views and to answer questions should they arise. I mean, how many times do we come up here and have issues and we get told, you know, oh, sorry, that's not our department.
That's the form of government we have at this time.
I'm familiar with the form of government we have, and I know other cities with the same form of government, the mayor attends the meeting from time to time, when he feels like it, sometimes all the time.
You asked my opinion, and that's my opinion.
And I respectfully disagree. I think the mayor, it would be helpful for the mayor to attend these meetings.
All the members have the same opinion?
You just said from time to time, I think that from time to time, I wouldn't mind. My concern with it, I don't have a major issue, I think it's from time to time is good. My concern is that it will become something else. Instead of a city council, running the business that we're supposed to do, it will become something else, especially something is going on. It's not the forum for that. But I do agree that there's some from time to time, I don't mind him if he wants to come in, fine. But I would be just a little bit skeptical, just because of that it might turn into something else.
Why do you think it would turn into something else?
Because sometimes, there is something going on in the community, or there's something else that we're discussing that it will become personal instead of something that is constructive. Sometimes, that it's very hard to conduct a constructive meeting here because everybody has their own opinion, which is rightly so. But it's hard to have a constructive communication between the public and ourselves, or the public themselves, between them. So it would be kind of difficult having the mayor here and to conduct the business. It would be kind of hard. But I like the idea once from time to time, if he wishes to come, why not? I wouldn't oppose to it.
Do the other council members have a view on whether or not that's appropriate or good for the mayor to be here?
I don't choose to speak at this time.
Okay. All right. For the record, the last time he was here was almost, I think, 3.5 years ago now. And I think it'd be helpful if he came a little more often than that. And I think the more the merrier about these meetings. I think it's good to have community members here, whether they're elected officials, city employees, or just, people who live here. I think it's great, and I'd like to see him come. I also, since he's not here, I will say that his event was good. It was good to see him out on the campus meeting students for a change, and I wish that he would be a little more proactive with it. So rather than reserving a table in front of the student center, there's a enormous activist event going on right now all week on the Voorhees Mall. As I'm sure you know, it's the 10th State University. Some of the most active students, engaged students, the elected student government, and folks who care about higher education and their city that they live in, their community, the future. That would probably have been a better place for the mayor to go meet people rather than stand behind a table in front of the student center. So that's my view on that. And the last one is the last student connections is a week from Tuesday, so the 24th. I forget what time, but I would encourage the council to come out too, because really the problem here is that it's very tough to catch the mayor and the council in the same room at the same time, same place at the same time, and I think that can lead to buck passing, and we don't need that. Next, I wanted to ask about some of these political action committees that have been written about in the press. I know that just in researching recent contributions that Councilman Egan and Councilwoman Escobar, who ran with Mayor Cahill, did receive some donations from these organizations, and I just want to ask if they had any comments on the $8,000 from the Committee for Civic Responsibility, or the $2,500 from People Energizing Government that funded their campaign. Are they familiar with the organizations?
I don't know if they are. You never work with both. Doesn't seem to be.
We get, as far as my understanding, we get we have to do it before every so often, and there's an amount there. So I guess somebody higher gets, who is it that is supporting?
Well, it's a pretty big amount, and so I'm just, that was given to your campaign, so.
It's supposed to be,
It's all been reported and.
it's been reported to the state.
Oh, yeah, that's how I found out about it.
Yeah.
I was just asking if you know who this organization is, why they wanted to give you $8,000, or, who gave you the check? Did you know about this? Do you know,
I think the way it works, it gets donated to the Democratic
Democratic
organization, not to the
organization, not
candidates.
to the
in
candidate
particular.
themselves.
So it's not like somebody's handing Mr. Egan or
No,
Mr.
no.
Escobar a check.
I never seen.
Well, the campaign committee for KW and
Exactly, so that's
Escobar
an
got
organization, it's not
these,
just-
these checks, these donations, and
Yeah.
so just wanted to follow up and see if there was any insight as to where that money came from.
Just what's listed on the form.
I found out that in Milltown, they had a problem with the water there, and I just wanted to follow up. I know we provide water to them. Is there, that's been fixed, right?
Heard on that?
No? What was their problem with the water?
It was low pressure, I heard, I got a notification, low pressure in Youngstown, caused by something in Brussels, but it's having something.
Yeah, I forget what street it is, but there's some kind of pump station that
I never put them itself, they send information, notification, and they did.
yes, and that's one of the things I'd like to talk about later on. But yeah, low water pressure due to New Brunswick water losing Canal Street pump. I guess it was rectified. I also know we are in the process of hiring a new person to direct the water utility. How's that going, and why is that happening now?
It's happening because Mr. Lockman has been wearing two hats for a number of years, and it's been getting a little bit too much to do both jobs and do both well. And he does an excellent job in both of them at this point, but it gets to be a little draining, so we're going to search for a suitable replacement.
I can imagine. How's the search going so far?
You just awarded or approved the contract at the last meeting, and that document's in the process of being executed. And the search firm will start their efforts very shortly.
So, I also wanted to ask, I heard there was a lockdown at New Brunswick High School today?
It was a report of an A-shot fired in the vicinity of Class Place. And what I was been told is that the police told the schools thought it was a good idea to lock down, and police agreed until they had investigated and cleared the area.
So did they keep the students later than normal? Okay. And something just from last time, I talked about how, why can't we build the Redshaw School? Why can't we just do it if the state's not doing it? And I got some good news that the state is going to let, urban school districts pursue their own construction if the rate at which the state is progressing is not sufficient. So I wanted to get your guys' input on whether you think that's an option, or whether you think the state is going to come through this time.
Well, do I think it's an option? I'm not sure. I have to find out what we're talking about. Been told that the state is coming up with the money. Again, if you want to take that for what it's worth, do it. And again, Mr. Pittman has brought this up before, and I tend to agree with it. It's a shame with what has gone on with the state and construction of the schools, not only here, but some of the other districts. But to leave New Brunswick hanging the way they have with the Redshaw School, I think it's just been terrible. It's a viable solution. It's something that can be done, and depending on the cost to the city and their taxpayers, and I think the main goal should be to get the school built.
Agreed. I know Mr. Egan sits on the School Development Authority. He said that it's unlikely it would happen this year. Are we any closer to a timetable?
Do you have anything on that?
I wouldn't say I have a timetable, but I would say that the state has committed to build that school, so it's gonna happen. I would say maybe this time next
Is
year.
there a chance of getting further? Can you dig a little bit further info? Sure. Thank you. Great, Mr. Fine.
I know something got passed tonight for the community center, the Remsen Avenue Firehouse.
Nothing got passed, there was a letter, and of course.
Oh, a letter, yes. So what's the update with that?
I don't know, I haven't seen it.
Okay. I'll get a copy. There's a new Rutgers president. Yes. Oh.
As you may recall, Mr. Council President, we awarded a final design contract to Design Idea Group a couple of months ago. They have been out working with both the fire department, the Unity Square folks, Elijah's Promise on the design of that, and they hope in a few months to be able to have the final design and then go out to bid on it.
Cool. So there's a new Rutgers president. I just want to know, did any of you know him or have any idea what to expect? I thought maybe.
He and I worked at the same medical school for a number of years. He was a department chair, I was not.
What's your reaction to him being the new president of our university?
I'm excited about new leadership at Rutgers, absolutely.
I know there's some new computers in the library that just went online. I think that's great, and I just wanted to know, how's that working out? Is it proving to be sufficient? Is there still a wait time for people?
I don't know, I know, oh, there you go.
Council President, at this time, there's no wait time, or it's 5 minutes. Do I predict that now that there isn't a long wait time, will more people be coming in? Yes. Will there be wait times in a couple months? I suspect so, because there'll be more people getting computer access.
Thank you.
Step in the right direction. So two final things, and they both sort of deal with the police department. I don't mean to harp on this, but is there any new information related to what happened with the New York Police Department operating a field office here in downtown New Brunswick?
There's not any new information.
Has there been any efforts made to get new information about this, or to learn
There's no
more?
investigation going on. The only information we had was that when it was told to us, there was an investigation being done by another department, and that was it.
I just know.
Yeah, it was shut down as well.
Yeah. I just think that, a couple meetings ago we had said this is a real issue and we need to get answers. And then the answers we got were just basically they told us the date that they found out, but they didn't tell us who knew, and they didn't tell us why they didn't do anything about it or if they did anything about it. Those are questions I think still need to be answered. Do you agree?
I think that, I don't think we're going to get much more of what we got with the New York Police Department. From what I read in the paper as well, the FBI as well was not happy with what they were doing. They were not informed. And as far as I've known, there's nothing come out from the FBI saying what was going on as well. So whether they've done an investigation. So here you're talking about the FBI being involved, and it's like the same thing. So we're at the same stage they are. So.
But we're also in a special place because this is the place where this was uncovered. And so there's real questions about who was told and who wasn't told. You said you weren't told, and are you happy about that? Is that okay?
I wasn't told. It was an ongoing investigation. I'm not told about every investigation that happens in the city of New Brunswick or elsewhere. And I think that's proper police procedure. So I'm not going to come in and ask permission from a council member to do an undercover or any other kind of investigation. And I don't think that's a feasible thing to expect.
Understandable, but now that this has been reported in the press, do you think it's reasonable for us to get answers to basic questions like who in the police department knew?
I don't know if anybody in the police department, Captain Miller, do you have any further info?
As I stated in the last meeting, when we found out about it, jurisdictions that had authority over NYPD were notified. I'm not going to comment on who in the police department knew about it and who knows today. And the Attorney General is doing his investigation, and when that investigation is done, I'm sure more facts will come out, but we're not going to comment on the investigation that the Attorney General is doing. I don't know what his investigation entails, but he has the jurisdiction over NYPD, and the Brunswick Police Department does not.
I didn't know if there was any investigation.
Understood. I just want to point out for the record, I'm not asking because I think that the people who knew were up to no good and need to be exposed. I just want to know what is the process when something like this is uncovered. Do the 3 officers who first reported there tell their sergeant, and then those 4 people keep it a secret? Or did that get told to the lieutenant? Did that get told to the director? Did the mayor know? Mayor Cahill could have been the only mayor in New Jersey, the first mayor in New Jersey to know about this. And
was never told.
what? Oh, I'm
Or he was never.
Or he was never told. I'd like to know. Would you like to know?
I just want to say that, hopefully something from the Attorney General will come back and, like you say, a new procedure or something, because I do agree that some surveillance has to be done because of the security, especially with everything that happens. But I do agree also that it has to be in a systematic way and in a way that it doesn't infringe in somebody else's liberties, So it's one of those that you have to, for me, I'm just waiting to see what will be the final, because it seems like not many people knew. This is something that they just came in, did it. Did they provide the whole information that in order for somebody to make an informed decision? Who knows? That's part of the police, procedure and whatever they have. I don't think I need to know because they know better. But I do believe that they do have to have some systematic system of procedure when something like this happens, just to protect the civil liberties of people.
Absolutely, and I think the elected officials are the people who need to stand up for that, and you can't if you don't know that it's going on. So I would hope that the mayor was informed. I would hope that he did something about it, but I guess we're not going to find out. That's disappointing. I'd like to see more investigation into this on the city's behalf. So the other thing is more about the police department and public information. I wanted to say I think it's very unfortunate that somebody lost their life in the Remsen Avenue shooting the other night, and it's good to see that the Crime Stoppers program is putting out a cash reward for people who could help solve that crime. I know that there was a 52-year-old woman who was run over by a vehicle, possibly a drunk driver, and the police made an arrest in that after considerable investigation. I think that's awesome. I just know that there are, avenues to get public information out, such as Nixle, that are going unused in the department. So for several weeks, they were looking for a certain vehicle, a person who ran over somebody, and Nixle was quiet. There was no post on Nixle about it. There was no post on the city's Twitter account. There was no post on Facebook. There was no email alert. There was no reverse 911 thing. There was nothing. And ultimately, the Nixle system, which is, as Councilwoman Escobar testified tonight, is being used in other towns like Milltown, East Brunswick. I get from South Brunswick all the time, Franklin Township. And New Brunswick has this account, has this set up, but has not used it since the hurricane in September. And there have been things that the police department and the city could have been getting the word out through this. It's great. You get text messages or emails. You get to sort of control how you get the information. And it's just sat unused. And I know that it's great that crimes are still being solved and things are still moving forward. But this was something that I thought was going to be a part of the city's strategy to get out public information. And I'm just wondering why it hasn't been used for so long.
Regarding the incident you talked about, the shooting on Remsen Avenue and the woman who was struck by the car on Somerset Street, there's a host of crimes or incidents that have protocols and guidelines governed by the prosecutor's office and the attorney general's office. Those two specifically, along with a host of other ones, the prosecutor's office disseminates the information. It is not allowed to come out of the police department. All information in those cases is disseminated through the prosecutor's office. Jim O'Neill is the public information officer of the prosecutor's office, and it comes out through him. Regarding Nixle, I agree it is an excellent tool. There was a time about a year ago where Nixle decided they wanted to start charging for their service, and they shut their server down for a little bit. Now they've gone back again and opened it back up to the public, and we started to use Nixle again. We've also updated our website to get out a lot more information. But again, like when the woman was struck, the information about the vehicle was put in the newspaper and brought out, but that was a decision made at that time by the prosecutor's office. We do not have the ability to put that sort of information out, because we're governed by protocols from the prosecutor's office. So we can't just put information out like that when we want to. That's a compliment at all.
Thank you. After looking at it, I'm not familiar with that. See that our public information director's here, so we heard that as well, so we follow up with him.
Yeah, because it's not just for
I agree.
those things.
It's a good system.
I am familiar with the, it's an emergency communicator the county uses. that they have set up through a company, DCC, that can specifically target areas to do, whether it's a flood or hurricane or any other announcement that you would want to give. So it's all based on telephone number. There is a self-register phone number, which seems to be the toughest part, especially with the number of cell phones these days, because the list comes from Verizon for landline lines only, not cell phones. But, yeah, it's a good idea, but I gotta find out more about this one.
Okay, yeah, and I'll touch base with Jim O'Neill about how they can, get the word out more, but I think this is the tool, it's not just for crime solving, but road closures or power outages.
Yeah, no, it's taking the place of print, so.
Okay, well, that is all I have.
Sure? Yeah. Well, wait, is anybody who has not spoken, Mr. Brendan?
Charles Renda, Harvey Street. On the budget that was introduced tonight, have we considered, and if so, what was the result, the state health insurance plan versus the private health insurance plan?
Mr. Lockton?
Our plan years run through July 1st, so I've made no assumption for July 1st through December 31st, other than we need to offer something to our employees, and I had to make some informed decisions on what the value of that coverage would be. But I do not back away from what I said 2 meetings ago, which is that we will include in the next round of solicitations an analysis of whether or not joining the state plan is beneficial to us or not.
I thought Mr. Laughlin indicated that we could go for the half a year from July 1st to December 31st in this budget.
He may have said that, but in planning the budget, he chose to go with numbers that we are familiar with and had experience with.
What I've assumed doesn't preclude us from
Right.
contemplating the state plan on July 1st. I just had to make some assumptions on
On how much it's
what
gonna
our
cost.
costs will be in that 6-month period.
Instead of going lower and not getting it, it'd be safer to go higher and have less.
I'm not even going to say I'm going higher, because the last
You don't know.
analysis by our broker suggested joining the plan was more expensive than what we're doing now.
And I think, Mr. Brown, I don't know if you saw in the paper, there was a report that some of the data that the gentleman used in an article that you originally noted was probably skewed a bit as to how he was getting the amount of money that was saved per municipality.
Well, the indication what I read, I think, same article, basically, was that there won't be savings for every municipality, but I thought that we were going to see it in this budget, if not in the budget, at least the ancillary or appendix to the budget, the numbers comparison of what it would be. I mean, how can you consider the July 1 to December 31st half year if you don't know what the numbers comparison? I'm not saying it should be in the budget, because it's obviously up for your consideration as opposed to a determination at this point. And I also would wonder how much commissions would be saved by going with the state plan rather than, because it's a cost to the city, whether we call it commissions or health insurance premiums or whatever. So hopefully that will be available to you for consideration and determination before you pass the budget, rather than pass the budget as is under the assumption without that information.
I would think by the time we get to the public hearing, which is scheduled for July 18th, we will have some information from the state health benefits plan for your consideration.
What we have to commit to it's due July 1st, we've got to keep the policy in effect. So what we have to commit before the July 19th hearing, renew the policy, or we'll lapse and have nothing.
We will not lapse. We will have something in place effective July 1st, whether it be renewals of our current plans, something else that is out there in the private sector, or potentially the participation in the state plan. But we will not allow for a gap between coverage.
What I seem to be hearing, I'm not saying it's what's said, but what I seem to be hearing is that we will not have a new consideration of the state plan before the July 1st deadline when our policy expires, because we'll have something in place for July 1st, and we won't consider the figures on the state insurance until July 19th, which is 9 days after that.
I think you're hearing wrong then on that
Well,
part.
please, I've heard wrong before.
I simply said that the cost analysis of joining the state plan will be before this group, before we get to the July 18th hearing. And it will be, we will make application to them in a timely fashion, and we will get a quote back from them in a timely fashion, such that if we think it is the right thing to do, we will be in a position to act by July 1st.
Okay, so there's a possibility we can go to the state insurance plan on or before July the 1st, even before the July 19th hearing. That's the missing piece
Yes.
that I didn't hear.
Okay.
And the other question about the budget was and hopefully we'll get the numbers on the commissions too, how much the commissions are running. The other was bike lanes have been talked about for 16, 17 years to my knowledge. We now have a new plan in line to put striping down certain areas, et cetera. Does this budget contain money for the striping? And or if not, when is it going to be done? Who's going to pay for it? And I mean, you know, come on, you passed the bike ordinance and we're all required to drive in the roadways now, and we've been promised bike lanes for years and years and years and years and longer than that.
This budget is going to fund, excuse me for a second, $70,000 worth of barrier-free improvements, signage, and striping to be managed by the engineering department. The New Brunswick Bikeway project, which is to be funded by federal money, that matter is going back before the North Jersey Transportation Authority for their consideration, I believe, in mid-May. I believe the county had just informed me of that. And just hang on one other second. In speaking with Glenn Patterson, he has devoted some CDBG funding for some bike lane projects other than the large New Brunswick Bikeway that I'm speaking of.
How, if at all, does this translate into striping and improvements on the ground, safety for the bikers this year?
Mr. Patterson, on that?
Mr. Golden and I have been working on finding some locations for the bike lanes. We're looking at doing one down on Remsen Avenue, which will probably be done in 2 stages because of the sewer work that is being done down in that location. And we're also looking at some areas up in the 5th, 6th Ward area where we might be able to do Class 3 bike lanes, which are the Sharrows and so forth.
My understanding is that Route 27, Albany Street, from the Highland Park Bridge to at least Easton Avenue was another prospective area to put bike striping in there. Is that anywhere on the foreseeable calendar?
Isn't that part of the major?
That's part of the county bikeway program.
Well, I thought that they decided that the road was wide enough now without too much encroaching on the median, that they could do it without affecting the utility, so they can just go ahead with the striping and reconfiguration.
I did not know this.
No, the county's doing some rather substantial modifications to that section of Easton Avenue, narrowing the median to be able to have a couple more feet to put in the dedicated bike lane and meet with the MUTCD standards.
So they still aren't considering that?
Yeah, there'll be a bike lane from George Street down to Nielsen. I believe there's also another extension that takes it up to the train station.
Island smaller?
Yeah, they need to narrow the island.
So we still have no indication of when, if any, improvements. I mean, it's nice to see Remsen Avenue and certain little, outlying parts of the city get, little designated bike lanes, but it's not an interconnection between, the way it's been planned for years and years and years between Rutgers and the Douglas campus, and which we didn't do when we did the George Street improvements, when it was a logical place to do it, logical time to do it, for whatever reasons it wasn't done. It's off in the unforeseeable distance. Am I hearing that correctly? So there's been no progress in the last 15 or 20
Well,
years?
there's been no progress. I think it gets some progress and then it stalls and
So
then picks
there's no
up again and
progress.
stalls.
There's been efforts made without progress.
Contrary to what Mr. Renda is just saying, there's been a lot of progress made, and as we just stated, Mr. Golden and I have been working on determining the locations to put these. We're hoping to have some bike lanes down as soon as this summer. They do interconnect. The Remsen bike lane would connect into the George Street bikeway in the downtown area. We have bike lanes up in the 5th, 6th Ward area that would interconnect with the county bikeway also.
I'm sorry, I thought.
And
Physical-
excuse me, if I might finish, Mr. Ennis said, why wasn't it done on George Street? The roadway's not wide enough for a dedicated bike lane down there.
George Street used to have 2 lanes of parking and 2 lanes of through traffic for many, 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 many years.
That was when you had the horse and carriage.
I was still, no, I was on a tricycle at that time. But I mean, and believe me, it was, you know, well done. And we can't put a bike lane, well, whatever. I think it was implied in my comments that to talk about no progress, I was talking about physical on-the-ground progress that is to the benefit of bikers in this town. Not progress in terms of let's sit down, let's figure out what we're going to do in 2 years from now, say that's not feasible, so let's reconfigure it, and let's reconfigure it, and let's reconfigure it, and let's reconfigure it. That's not physical progress in my mind. Oh, I thought I interrupted him saying something. The other item, the last item on the budget is, I heard you say something about the council chambers and renovations. The council chambers are being money in there to start that process. Have we fixed the roof? Are we sure it's fixed? And when will we go out to bids on the renovations? And what's the time on that? Because I've been fighting again for the turn of the table for 20 years. And again, we're making progress in terms of talking about it, plans, proposals, and then Hurricane Irene comes along, or the storm before that, or the storm before that, or incompetent roofers, or no physical improvement has been made in the turn of the table.
There's been physical improvement made above us, but not necessarily.
Is the roof repaired?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I haven't
Until
seen
the
any,
next
I have
storm?
not seen any water intrusion since Hurricane Irene and the days thereafter, and it's my intention to put before the council at the next meeting authorization to go out to bid.
For the renovations of the council chamber?
And we'll have modified plans and bid documents hopefully in hand by that time.
The roof above the chambers has been repaired and I think completely redone at one point, at least 2 or 3 times. And it's not been done properly because it keeps leaking with every major storm. What has happened with these repairs that gives you the confidence that it really is repaired, and what was wrong with the other repairs? Why weren't they done properly?
Let me back away from saying I'm confident the roof doesn't leak.
Oh,
I'm not a roofer.
I wish you had
This
that.
building's 90 years old. It's got a lot of quirks to it. We're sitting underneath a flat roof, and that wall happens to be a gable wall that goes up, and there's a slate roof over that. All I can tell you is that we've went through a number of storms. We have had no new water intrusion into the building. I'm of the opinion it's worth, at this point, moving forward. And if there's a stain there in 6 months, you're going to tell me, yeah, you see, you don't know what you're talking about. But I'm not a roofer. I'm doing the best I can do to move this project forward and keep this room dry.
I promise you I won't, Mr. Council President, I promise Mr. Laughlin, I will not complain about a stain in the roof if the table is turned. And the
I will
other,
make note of that.
and my last question, you can quote me on that, and I'll sign an affidavit to that effect. Well, we're talking about stain. You know, if the ceiling comes down on me when I'm sitting here at a council meeting, that's a whole different story. The last question is, what's the largest umbrella they make?
Yes, sir. Just a quick indulgence, I'm so sorry. I was remiss in not publicly thanking those that supported this effort. I just wanted to say that, and if they're willing, I would publicly thank them in the next meeting if they want to be thanked either individually or collectively. So thank you.
Dan Cummings, 90 Townsend Street, New Brunswick. I stepped in a little late. I'm not sure if Charlie touched upon the NYPD thing. Yeah, he did. Okay. All right, so he'll have to brief me on that. At the last freeholder meeting, several people went there in hopes of trying to get the Middlesex County freeholders to state that violence in Middlesex County is a public health crisis, something that the Center for Disease Control actually did earlier this year in January, stating that the issue of violence is so big that it's on par with other diseases that are ravaging communities across America. Our hope was that they would A, say that violence is a public health crisis, and B, set up a commission that would look at the issue of violence, not just in New Brunswick, but in the entire county. They state that they have things set up that are dealing with the issue of violence. But in all honesty, the amount of violence that's taken place over the last 9-10 months in this city, whatever they're doing isn't working, in my opinion. We have incredible violence between residents in our community, people coming from outside of our community. Domestic violence is a big issue, specifically in our Latino community, because there are people, specifically women, that are afraid to reach out to the police due to their immigration status. And you know, in our schools, we have I'm a school teacher, not here, but in South River, and there's a big issue with violence in our schools, specifically at the middle school here in New Brunswick. So I know you all have that D after your name, and across the street, I think they all have that D after their name as well. So the hope is that you as Democrats, that's what the D stands for. You as it could stand for other things. You as Democrats can urge them that violence in our communities is a public health crisis, and it needs to be looked at from all angles. It needs to be looked at from our schools. It needs to be looked at in our specific communities. It needs to be looked at in terms of police brutality. It needs to be looked at on the Rutgers campus. It needs to be looked at. And being in New Brunswick, where unfortunately a lot of the violence in this county is happening, I think it would be in New Brunswick's best interest if we first say that violence is a public health crisis. Second, set up a commission that will look at the issue and make recommendations in order to first of all realize that this is a problem, and second of all to do something to resolve it. I'm a member of the Central Jersey Coalition Against Endless War. We're the local peace group, long name, small group. But we focus primarily on violence in other countries perpetrated by the U.S. And I think sometimes we lose sight of the shootings in our own backyard. Living on the corner of Townsend and Commercial, Barry DeLoach was shot just a few blocks from where I sleep. So it's important that we look at this issue and look at it on the whole, and not just read every other week that somebody was beaten in New Brunswick, or somebody was shot in New Brunswick, or somebody, you know, or some elderly woman was robbed in the middle of the night in New Brunswick or Perth Amboy or South Brunswick. We need to look at it from a larger issue and go down to the roots and see, you know, kind of where this is coming from. My personal opinion, I think poverty has a big role to play in it, but if we have a commission, they can look into it a little better and see where it's at.
Yes, my name is Gretchen Spencer, and I'm from 21 Bergen Court, New Jersey. I have quite a few issues that need to be brought to the table. I'm going to reshake the tree a minute. Robeson Village, where they said they was going to put up street bumps, humps, whatever they want to call them. We got them cars flying in. They done changed the access to Robeson Village. You got a road called Zebra Ray that nowhere goes near to the school. It just stops short of the school. It's getting on my nerves now. The people are flying in Robeson Village. We got kids that used to play in the street before they opened those streets on both ends, Jennings Court and Bergen Court. There's a stop sign that needs to be put at Jennings and Sample. I almost got hit by a car flying out of Jennings, going across Sample, out of Jennings. That's a one-way. Bergen Court is a one-way going in. We were promised street humps. Before I went in the hospital on February the 13th, a little kid, if I hadn't have ran in the street, would have got hit. I go, they tell me I had to talk to the city. I talk to housing, you talk to the city. City housing, I'm getting sick of this right now. I'm about ready to go to DC. Somebody needs to come out here and look at it. Talk with me, we can talk about this, get these bumps put up. I don't care who does it, but if one of these kids get hit out here, there's gonna be a lawsuit. And I mean that. Because these cars are flying in and then they're going one way down the wrong way. It's getting to be a problem. It's really evident. I'm tired of them changing this road around. You know, this is getting to be a problem out here. And then, speaking of crime, that one shot we heard today, I called it in, and it was not one shot. It was 6 shots. 2 people shooting at, more than 2 people shooting at each other. This crime along New Jersey, oh, excuse me, wait a minute. What is quote unquote Cahill? Nobody on that side of town or in Robeson Village will never be on my police department. Where the hell do he get off saying my police department when it's our police department? Okay? This is what got back to me from, I don't even know how these people found out about it, but they came to me and told me, because I shook the tree and put something out there and it came back to me. Okay? This is the city of New Brunswick. Then you're going to get in the paper and try to make Mr. Pittman look like a terrorist. How can a mayor do that? How can he do that? Mr. Pittman does good for some of the people. He took one boy and got him off. He was getting ready to go the wrong way. And that boy now is doing good in school. But how can a mayor sit there and attack somebody like that? And I applaud the lady that wrote about it in the Home News from East Brunswick. Okay? You know, Mayor Cahill ain't seen him the whole time for what, 20 years? After 4 years, he want to jump up and let it be known. I am so sick of this. I wish he was here because I can tell him from, I'm going to tell you exactly the way I feel. I'm fucking pissed. I am fucking pissed. Because this is not a city no more. New Brunswick, I wouldn't want to live here if I come down French Street and see it looking like that. Okay? Paper everywhere. I don't come downtown that much no more. Because I can't get around like I used to. But when I did come through New Brunswick, I'm saying this is not the New Brunswick I used to know. You got crime everywhere. Just like they said, crime is everywhere. Some of it don't get reported. And then people need to know what's going on around this damn city. Because I am sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. These kids out where I live at think that Robeson Village is their stomping ground. I get up every day, morning, noon, and night, and the police department is sick of me already. But they say I got a big mouth, here it comes. I am tired of it. We need more patrol up and down 27. Since that school got there, there's been accidents after accident after accident after accident. I ain't never heard so many accidents in my life. I monitor everything. I watch everything, and I watch people's actions. And when stuff don't get done after 20 years, then 4 years later, you want to start building shit. Okay? They did shit for us all this time, but now shit want to get built. But then you ignore the rest of the goddamn city. I'm sorry, but this is the way I feel.
I understand, and I'm not asking you to curb your anger, it's just the language.
It's getting there, you know, it's getting to be, I cross town, just like the lady that got hit, the boy that got shot, the Loach, okay? New Brunswick and everybody is dysfunctional. It's about as dysfunctional as the people who are living here. Okay? Because there's nothing getting done right. We got people, double dip.
True.
We got people going from director to in charge of the school security, from being director back to director of police department. Okay, we got, and then everything down there is about dysfunctional. New Brunswick need to get back on its feet, because this city is going to hell in a handbasket. It's too late. It's going to hell in a handbasket. New Brunswick needs to get back on its feet. Cahill needs to just walk away, because this city is going to hell in a handbasket. You know, I sit back, I don't go too many places, but people call me. People talk to me. And I'm tired, and I have to get up and argue with people when I gotta argue with kids where I live at, because they don't live there, and I have a hard time sometimes getting the police department to come, and people call me and say, well, the police department ain't come, Miss Gretchen. We called them and called them. I have to get on the line and call the police department to come out. It don't make no sense. And I know Cahill don't like me and a few other people, but frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Okay? Because this is where I live at. This is where I worked at. This is where a lot of us have sweat to build. But I keep hearing, this is my police department, this is my city, this is mine, not ours. Okay? And something's got to give somewhere. I say, see ya to Cahill. That's what I say. You have got to go. If anybody keep thinking that you keep kissing his behind, and he paying off people to do this and that, oh, this got to stop. This is why ain't nobody got no money no more. People can't move up from an entry level into a position when you've got keep people coming back, taking over positions. Some people are double dipping. I'm about with Christie on that one. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Something has to give somewhere. Other people need to sit back. If you're retired, stay retired. Don't come back and take a position where somebody else could have moved up. That's what I'm trying to say. That's not right. That's not right. It's been going on for years, and it has to stop. It has to stop. I didn't believe it when people was, oh, no. Oh, yeah. I sat back and watched for myself. It has got to stop. Especially when you got one man leaving a job, and then he go take over security at New Brunswick High School, and still getting his pension over $100,000 plus, 80 or 90 more thousand coming in. What is that from the city? Then you got another one that retired and he done come back. He done got paid over $300,000. Now he's back. No, something's wrong somewhere. Money is leaving this city left and right, and it ain't going where it's supposed to go. It's not going where it's supposed to go. It's going into other people's hands and other people's pockets. And it's going to have to stop. My name is Gretchen Sue Fed Spencer, right now. And that Fed stands for the FBI, and I mean that. I'm tired.
Do you like to speak, Bruce?
Yes. Anyone else? Has not spoken, Mr. Pittman?
Smell Pittman. I understand what you're saying. I it's passionate, when you're not getting any results from a city. And, I echo what Charlie said. First and foremost, there should be a representative or someone in place for Mr. Cook, because he's been out since October and nobody's been in his place. And that's one of the only African Americans that's on the council. So I think, why isn't there a representative or someone at least taking his place? He's been gone since October.
I usually talk to them once every couple of weeks, but I did not this past, see what his plans are.
October?
I don't disagree with that,
I mean, you guys are saying you announced October, and there's nobody in place to represent his vote. Also, I echo what Charlie said as far as the mayor goes. Me personally, I don't agree with your opinion. I couldn't see Rudolph Giuliani on September 11, 2001, not wanting to get involved, like you said, because of the community. No, it was a crisis. And then Rudolph Giuliani showed his face more than ever. The mayor of Newark ran into a burning building and saved one of his residents. And you're telling me our mayor is too big to come here and sit and hear our responses? That's what you're telling me? And you know, like I said, a man got killed on Remsen Avenue. There was shots fired, class place, doors away from where she stays. You know, you guys didn't even address that. But the lady that has a problem with Giovanelli's comes here and mentions that. You guys rush to judgment and you physically bring him in. But you didn't even respond to her remarks. She's the one who called the police.
I responded when Charlie asked me about it. As far as I know, I was informed today.
A female gets hit by a car.
It was more than one shot fired. I found about the call.
I understand. I'm just telling you what I was told.
They need to stop lying then.
These are all incidents. This is all incidents from 9 months to now, to 9 months ago. This is a crisis. And you're justifying why he feels like he don't even have to show his face. Cool. He don't have to show up. But what's the reason why the police director, why doesn't he show up? Anthony Caputo. What's his excuse?
I don't have an answer for that.
All right, I mean,
Police representative here.
You ain't got to answer.
it's not because
We have a police representative.
it's not because he's in Little Italy buying those $5,000 bottles of champagne, him and his wife.
I have no idea.
Okay. Also, you know, my thing is this. You feel like he don't have to address me. And what's sad is, the mayor made comments about me in the paper. I've yet to address that. I've ignored it. But I bumped into him coming in here today. He took off and ran. After he finished talking to Fire Chief Rawls, he seen my face and he took off and ran. So to me, that's a coward. That's a sign of a coward. You know, I mean, to address me in public, and I'm a man. If you say something about me, I'll address you. And the reason I didn't say anything publicly back to him because I wanted to see him in person. And the opportunity I got, I still couldn't address him. So now he may just wait to use that opportunity again to address me again. So now I'm between a rock and a hard place. I want to make a difference in the community because there's just been a murder. I want to make a difference because there's gunshots being shot right by her doorstep. But I'm the victim of that violence that is happening now. He's accused me of it. And I've been asking you, I've been coming to you since December to just have a sit down with him face to face. And you said out of your own mouth, he don't want to speak to me.
No, I didn't say that.
What did you say?
You asked me to contact.
Well, I'll tell you what he told me in the hallway. He told me he didn't want to speak to me.
That's him. I contacted his office to try to set something up, and at that time I was told that Mike Beltramini at that time was going to take care of it, and if nothing happened, I don't have any control over it. I can't set the mayor's schedule, and he's not going to meet because
But do you think of it some importance?
Excuse me?
Do you feel like it's important that after making those accusations, I would go to him and say, listen, you made those accusations about Tormel Pittman. Least you could do is meet with the man.
Mr. Pittman, look, I told you this before. I don't have control over his schedule. He's not going to meet with anybody just because I asked him to meet. I did reach out, and that's what I can do.
Well, you know, I'm not going to harp. You know, everybody's been here for a while, and, you know, I'm going to keep it short and simple.
And you know that your access, you can have access to me, and
me and you are probably the only ones over there that became friends over since that little incident by the courthouse. So we're all right. But I also want to also get behind Dan by saying that it's important that you guys get behind this movement as far as declaring violence a crisis as far as Middlesex County goes. Because if New Brunswick, there's just a murder a few days ago. Shooting is still going on. If New Brunswick get behind it, this is the center of the county. If you can back that, that would be important for us going tomorrow when we go to the freeholders
I
meeting.
read a pretty good article or information on what the CDC did, so I'm going to follow up on that part.
Also, I'm aware that there were cameras put up throughout various areas in New Brunswick. Were there any in the area where the young man got killed at?
I don't personally know at this time, Mr. Loughlin, or
I'm sorry, I don't have that information.
we'll get that information.
And there's a way we can find out where are the cameras put? Like,
Some I will, I know there's some that, I know that Berkeley put in, they don't want to go for locations.
no?
I do know the location, I don't know all of them for now, but I'll get that.
Would that be made public?
You
With the
asked me if
location?
I could tell you, but
Okay.
it's not anything that's not public. So I can't, I will tell you tomorrow,
Okay.
how's that?
All right, good. Also, did you get your business cards and pamphlets?
Yes, I did, I got the business cards, I will give you one tonight, we're still working on the pamphlets.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else who has not spoken?
Yeah, just on my end, Harvey Street. I just wanted to ask about one of the ordinances passed on first reading, item number 2. I just wanted more information. I didn't know what a cat bank was.
You know, the budget director was here and gave an explanation prior to the
Oh.
meeting. This thing, Mr. Crowderville can really get.
I suppose I'll wait for Charlie. Okay.
Charlie, get some.
First time you've ever referred a question to me.
Whoa.
He's retiring.
So a couple things. First of all, thank you for bringing up the council room renovations. Will that proposal include, a different setup for recording the meetings? So it will. And so does that mean these meetings will be televised?
It means that
The plan will have a power source and a data source for permanent installation of cameras, if that's the direction you choose to go.
which is the direction I was.
Which is what we,
Okay. You guys will be stars, be on TV. Next. The next thing, I wanted to ask for an update on auxiliary police. Are they almost done with the training, or how many are
Graduate in June.
Graduate June?
Yes.
still at 7 enrolled?
As far as I know.
As far as I know, the last I heard was 7 still.
And the last thing is, with all these political action committees, some folks did analysis of who was actually funding them and who gave them the money, and overwhelmingly, first place was 5 gentlemen who own a company called CME Associates. Does the city do business with them, and if so, what is that business?
They just recently, I think, with tonight's agenda, they got a recommendation on.
CME designed the Lyle Brook improvements that we are about to get underway. And what else they're involved in, I'm not sure. What else did you think was on the agenda? I'm sorry.
It wasn't this week. A recommendation on changes that were to be made. I may be confusing with other meetings. Anyway, they do the work for the city, and as Mr. Loughlin said, they designed a Lyle Brook by bid. Yeah, they were awarded by bid.
Okay, and are they involved with the Remsen Avenue storm sewer project?
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. I refer to the Remsen Avenue storm.
Oh, it's the
sewer
same, one and the
as
same.
Lyle Brook, But yes,
Okay.
it's the same project.
Okay, so other than that, any business in the last few years that we know about that they?
I would say yes, but on the top of my head, I don't know which ones.
Okay, so they regularly do business with the city and have done so.
Mr. Golden, do you have anything off the top of your head on CME?
Yeah, they had actually designed the South Pennington Road pump station, which we awarded the contract for tonight. Engineering department solicits proposals for engineering services. They generally submit proposals. They do not get every project that we put out or from it, but they have done work for the city. Consulting engineer.
And also, did they put in a bid to be like the official city planner or something? Not planner, of course, but like the city something. I remember they didn't win at the.
I don't know. We put all our professional contracts out in the beginning of the year under the fair and open process, and multiple firms always respond to the request for proposals, but we keep record of that, and if if you need us to, we can go back and see what else they made a proposal for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I know the auxiliary police was just recently introduced. When is the official enrollment for, like, the city, the real police, New Brunswick Police Department? Like, when is that, normally in June, I think,
Well,
to enroll?
you mean
Become an official city cop?
Civil service?
Yeah, civil service.
It depends on the test date, which I don't know if the time is a lot, we know in the next. Was the existing list is still good? JT?
Yeah, the list, I don't know when the list, the date is that the list expires. It runs, I believe, 3 years, every 3 years. The last few hires that we've hired, we've taken off the rice list, which are officers that have been laid off from other municipalities.
Do you know when the next test for the civil service test is?
I do not know. You can go on the civil service website and they have all that information.
Yeah,
I'm from the New Jersey Department of Civil Service.
It's not a city, like an application for the city, it's the civil service thing, that's what they personally.
It's never a fixed date either.
And if it's coming up, will it be made public?
I know it's always on the state's Department of Personnel.
It's Civil Service Commission now. There's no Department of Personnel, it's Civil Service Commission, and it is on the state's website.
It's on state's website.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President